you look at the stats, and on average, I am the most dead center even dude for scrambling and throwing in the pocket. It's just, I make more highlights, and so that's what they show. But dead even stat of scramble to pocket, I am the most dead even on the farthest end of the spectrum from anybody else. As we know, X and Y axis, I am the farthest from all of them in every single way. And so to all of the people, I can do anything and everything as I want and as my team needs, and whatever it takes to win a game.
That's right, tomorrow's going to be the day. Caleb Williams on the Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark, Fred Taylor, Channing Crowder.
I was very entertained by it. It was long. It was an hour and 10 minutes, and I skipped a couple of things, but for the most part, very impressed with how Caleb Williams handled himself. I think there's a maturity there that is unique to someone his age and who has been in the limelight in the manner which he has.
That was the in response to what he did on his pro day.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
About, like, what he wanted to do, because he wanted to show the throws that he can make from the pocket. He wanted to do it simple. Like, he didn't want to do what, who's the player that the Jets drafted?
Zach Wilson?
Zach Wilson. Remember, Zach Wilson was doing all those rollouts and crazy throws. He said, like, those are on highlights, and he wanted to show people, even though half of his throws do come from the pocket, but all the highlights out there of him doing off-platform throws, he just wanted to show the footwork from the pocket. And, like,
to me, that's more important. Like, I know he can thrive outside the pocket and off-platform. You're not going to be able to do that as regularly and be as successful at the NFL level as you can at the collegiate level. So my interest is more in, can he play on time? Can he play in structure? Can he adapt to the NFL game, which I believe he can? But I think it's really cool that he referenced that. He said, look, I mean, you see all of these wild scrambling throws because it's what gets everyone's attention. Sure. Go back and look at all the film where I do play on time and I do play from the pocket.
Yeah, and the Spencer Rattler competition or lack of competition was really good from his Oklahoma days. I know Joniak thought that was really interesting. Yeah. But he's all ball, and we played a lot of those from the pivot, and it was really great that we were able to get Ryan Clark to come on. His podcast is very, very good. The work that he does on ESPN is outstanding. He's going to be in Detroit if he's not there already. And it is our pleasure to welcome on Ryan Clark on Waddle and Silvy on the CarX Tire and Auto Hotline. Ryan, how you feeling today?
I'm doing well. How are you guys? We're
outstanding. It was a really a great introspective interview that you did with Caleb Williams.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been, I think that's been the best part about having an opportunity to sit down with some of our guests on the pivot. I think you have these perceptions when you walk into the room with them, but they get an opportunity, during an extensive conversation to, tell you who they are from their own perspective. And I really learned a lot about Caleb, and I think it changed some of the things I heard from the outside that had made me have, certain narratives in my head about him.
What was the biggest one? What narrative did you have in your head, and what did he change your mind most about?
I think the biggest thing was people have the thing you've heard that he has to prove that a locker room will accept him, prove that he can be a leader. He even said it when he was talking to Louis Riddick at his pro day. He says, I wanted to show people that I can interact with my guys and that I can just be one of the dudes and be a good teammate. Whereas when you listen to him talk, and one of his closest friends, who's a wide receiver on USC, is actually living with him as he trains to get ready to go into OTAs, and you could see that he was a leader. You could see that he's extremely aware of the things people say about him. You can see that he understands the things he needs to prove or disprove. The other thing I learned is he has a self-assuredness that not many people at his age have. Think about the criticism, the scrutiny that Caleb Williams has been under since probably maybe not even winning the Heisman, since going into Oklahoma to battle or not battle Spencer Rattler, since winning that job, transferring to USC, and obviously being the projected number 1 overall pick since the beginning of this season. Like, this kid has constantly thrown things in negativity, and he's battled through those, played extremely well, and really not addressed much of it. I just felt like he was a very mature individual, and people haven't given him a lot of respect for that.
Yeah, I would say, Ryan, what I took, there were so many things I took from the interview you guys did with him. He's genuine and he's authentic. And as somebody who lived in a huddle and was a leader inside those defensive huddles yourself, do you believe that his personality will resonate with his teammates at the NFL level?
You know what? So I'm going to dispel something here. I don't think it has to.
Right.
Right? Like, the people who haven't been in great locker rooms often say this, you know, I wonder how his personality is going to gel. If he plays well, it's going to gel just fine. If Caleb Williams goes out and wins a lot of football games and plays hard and puts his hand in the pile and comes to work every day like a professional should, like the quarterback of a winning football team should, everybody's going to like him. Like, I was a man, I had 3 kids very early. I wasn't hanging out with the rookie quarterback anyway. I didn't need to like his personality. I need to like the way he played football.
Right.
And so I think that, you know, that's something that's overrated and something that people who can't turn on the film and say either he can do it or he can't do it try to use to, I guess, critique or criticize the guy. As long as he's not like a total butthole, it's going to be fine. You know why? Because I played with total buttholes that were very good at football, and we never had a problem.
Right.
You know, because this is my favorite thing. All my friends weren't my teammates, and all my teammates weren't my friends.
That's great. I mean, it's great perspective for sure. Do you believe, like, the collegiate life has changed? Do you believe the elements of NIL and him already being young and rich and famous will help his adjustment at the next level, or you think it doesn't matter?
I don't think the money part matters as much, you know. I think the fame part is important because it's the scrutiny that you will be under as the number 1 overall pick. You know, like back in the day, even if you were a great college player, you probably didn't get the attention or you didn't get to hear or see as much negativity as these kids do now with social media, right? Like if somebody in New Orleans hated Peyton Manning while he was at Tennessee, it didn't matter because Peyton Manning was never going to see it.
Right.
Right? If there was something said on the radio in Idaho about Ryan Leaf at Washington State, he wasn't going to hear it, even though those places are close. Like, it's just not how it works. And so whereas now if you get mad because Caleb Williams throws a touchdown against Utah, you can get right on and say whatever you want to say about him. You can talk about his fingernails. You can talk about his pink iPhone case. You can say all these things you want to say. And to have to deal with that throughout your college career for him, and now when you step up and you do have the scrutiny of being the number 1 overall pick, truly for this kid, how much different is it going to be? So I do believe that part prepares you for some of the outside noise.
Yeah.
Who is the biggest butthole you played with?
Oh, I don't want to do nobody like that.
You knew I had to ask.
No, that's no problem. That's the job.
So you mentioned like a couple of the hot button topics. We've gotten them all, Ryan, as we've led up to this. And you know our town. We've been starving. We're thirsty in this town for the quarterback. So we've gotten it all. We've gotten, he's a diva. He paints his nails, the phone case. And then you guys got a long, great answer from Caleb about the crying after the game. What people forget about that game is he threw for 3 touchdowns, ran for another, didn't throw for an interception, and threw for over 300 yards. What was your thought about his answer? And as a guy who played, what is your thought about someone going into the crowd and crying in his mom's arms?
Well, the crowd thing was different because I just felt like I hadn't seen it, you know. But I remember, and I can't even remember crying, you know, in the league or anything like that. But I remember my last game in high school. I was obviously a big-time recruit. I was headed to LSU, and all of these kids on my team are crying because they're not going to play football anymore or because we lost. And I wasn't crying. Then my mom walks over, and I go to hug my mom, and I just break down, and she tells me, she was like, I knew this would happen. I think that's just something you share with your mother. That's a bond that you have. What I liked most about it was that he said, I've learned now, right? He said, there's a time and a place for everything. He said, am I still going to cry? Absolutely. He said, because winning and losing matters to me. Don't you want your quarterback to be like that?
Oh, yeah.
Like, don't you want your quarterback to take losses hard? Don't you want your quarterback to go watch the film on Monday morning after a win and critique more of what he did wrong than what he did right? No. He's a guy who's learned, okay, people will scrutinize and criticize anything, so let me be smart, and if I'm going to have these emotions, let me do this at home. Let me do this in my locker room. I think it's all a part of a process, but to have people criticize you in that manner or nitpick you in that manner, it simply just says how good you actually are at something. Because nobody cares about the guy playing quarterback at the D3 school that can't throw the football 10 yards. They care about you because you're special. And I think he's learned that and understands that.
On that note, Ryan, if you had the first overall pick in the draft and your team needed a quarterback, who would you select?
Caleb Williams.
Yep.
I've said this the whole time. And I'm obviously extremely close to Jaden Daniels. He committed to Arizona State the same year as my son did. So I've known him, now going on what feels like, 5-6 years. I've watched him grow. I think he's going to be a great quarterback. There's something to me about people who are really, really good the first time you see them, right? Don't get me wrong. Like, you can learn things and you can grow, and that takes work and that takes effort. But if from the first time you ever touched a football field at a certain level, you had it, that matters to me. Did Caleb Williams get better? Absolutely. But he had a baseline level of quarterback play that was higher than many people we ever see play this game. And, I heard you guys as I was coming on talk about some of, the off-schedule things and his answer for that. Here is what I know. If you want to tell a guy, hey, as soon as you catch this ball, I want you to throw this slant if it's open, you can teach most high-level quarterbacks that. What you can't teach them is if your defense can't stop a nosebleed, which USC couldn't, if your wide receivers can't create separation, which USC couldn't, and if your scheme wasn't developed enough where there was adjustments off of those things to help people get open, which it wasn't, you can't teach people, hey, just go be special and go be the best player on the field whenever we need you to. And for 98% of the time of his college career, Caleb Williams did that.
Do you like the infrastructure that Ryan Poles has built for this young man as he steps in as the starting quarterback for this franchise?
I do. I liken it to a first-time parent. Right? I don't know, how many kids you guys have.
I got 4.
If you have kids.
Yeah.
Right, I have 3. Do you remember the preparation for the first kid as opposed to the fourth one?
Right.
Oh, yeah. First one for me happened when we were 25. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. By the time we had the fourth one, I could have delivered that child myself.
Right, but also you needed a lot less preparation.
Yes.
Right, by the time you get to the fourth one, you understand it. Whereas Ryan Poles is now having his first opportunity to draft a guy and develop that guy. And now with Shane Waldron, he said, let me create a space for him where I can nurture him. Let me give him 2 good veteran wide receivers in DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. Let me go get a versatile running back in DeAndre Swift who can both catch the ball and take some of the pressure off of Caleb by handing it off. Let me have a Cole Kmet who can stretch the field and be a touchdown scorer in the red zone. Let me have a defense who over the last half of the year was one of the top defenses in the league once we acquired Montez Sweat. Let me do all of these things to give this kid an opportunity to have success. And I think Ryan Poles has done an extremely good job of that. And now you're going to sit him with Shane Waldron and say, what do you do best? What feels most comfortable for you? And here is how we want to use that in our offense, much like we saw him do with Geno Smith, whose career he helped resurrect.
Ryan Clark joining us. It's Waddle and Silvy on ESPN 1000. So can you explain to the listeners of your reaction who may not have seen the pivot of when you walked into his apartment or condo, whatever that was, your reaction as a former NFL player to walking into a guy's place who hasn't even played a down in the NFL yet?
Hell, I don't live like that now, guys. I played freaking 13 years, and I've been on TV for a decade. No, I mean, I think it was one of those things where reality truly set in on the difference in between the college life now and the college life in 2001, which was my last season. The way that NIL works, some of what these bigger universities can do for top-notch elite level players, and the difficulty it has to be in being motivated to go for college football on Saturday when you have a sports car and a high-rise of Los Angeles, but in the heart of the city. It was really just one of those moments where
wanted to see if it would come back.
We lost it.
Yeah, let's see if we could reestablish. We were almost at the end anyway. But Ryan
I
Clark
thought the best
joining
piece
us.
of advice they gave Caleb was when I think it was Ryan said to Caleb, "No, don't go out with Channing Crowder." Crowder was trying to say, "Hey, let me take you out somewhere." And I think Ryan's best piece of advice: No,
Right.
You're good.
Continue with the Lego parties. Yeah, stay in.
Yeah.
Think about ball.
Don't participate in that.
It's all ball first.
Yes.
And that's okay with us.
Absolutely. It's great.
Yeah, staying in Lake Forest.
Yep. Amen.
We don't need that.
No. There's nothing in Lake Forest to do anyway. Just hang out.
Exactly, right. Go out, get a good dinner.
Right.